How this got started is I called John up and I said, dude, if you're cool with it, I would like to direct an episode of Out Da Bayou. And he said, well, what episode would you like to direct? And I said, well, I want to direct the John Jackson episode. Silence.
Coming up today on ODB, it's ODB. Okay, well, it's something I thought I would never do. Not that, or this, or even that. But a film director friend of mine thought you guys might be interested in the big-time production.
This is what we call shooting a TV show without a photographer, you see?
Or behind the scenes of how Out Da Bayou was born and is produced today.
Market and action.
Jeff Smith is a film, commercial, and documentary producer and director I have worked with on several projects in the last 10 years.
Action, dude. Plus the new Chevy Silverado.
Jeff lives in a little different world up there in South Carolina than I do, but we share the same passion for bringing great stories to your living room. Jeff has produced and directed some of the most famous people in the world: Tiger Woods, Danica Patrick, Zach Brown, Dale Jr. and Sr., and many, many more. So when he asked me to direct an episode of Out Da Bayou based on how we do the show, I thought he was just shooting me a line of
Hope this makes all y'all happy out there.
But what Jeff made me realize is that what we do is unique, and how we produce this show is, well, crazy in his book. So, here you go. ODB Behind the Scenes, what a real Hollywood big-time production looks like without the big-time Hollywood, of course. Cannot believe I agreed to this.
Out Da Bayou is a true organic reality show. There are no scripts. You can't have a script for an alligator show or a wild hog show.
It's dirty, it's hot. We're setting lines, hanging baits, having you guys ride along with us.
You can have an idea, but when you go out there, you're pretty much at the mercy of whatever the day gives you. That makes it interesting, and that keeps it real.
There is no subject, that we won't touch if it's fun. The fish doesn't know what he wants to do. He's coming out to your side.
He's still, see that fish is still up?
Yeah.
He's
still green. If it's positive, I love positive stories.
Yeah, I don't understand how a dead alligator is biting another one.
Kind of brings the kid out in you. These guys have never actually taken a gator before, but I mean, they've been like kids in a candy store. It's great to see these guys be able to get off, the high-stress world of being a police officer, and be able to get out here and bayou and enjoy some of the things that a lot of people take for granted. And it's got a great flavor to it. And here we are right here holding a bill of about 120, 130 pound swordfish.
Yeah, it's about 115, 120 pounds.
Hey, about 130, about 150, 160 pound swordfish. We've done everything from robbing beehives to riding cutting horses.
I mean, who wouldn't want to catch an alligator or a 100-pound tuna or wrestle a hog? I mean, you and I probably aren't going to do those things, but for 30 minutes we can.
Nothing will prepare you when coming face to face with this.
Oh my God, that's a 12-foot gator. Dude, that is a big gator. I think our second show we shot, a guy named Jeff Chandler challenged me to get into a hog trap, which was a pen about 30 yards long with about 3 or 4 hogs that he called 150 pounds plus. This was not the best thing
It's not the best
I've come
idea.
up with so far for show material.
I thought that was funny at the time.
He don't look scared. And actually tackle a wild hog because he didn't want to shoot them in the pen because they get savvy real quick if they smell blood or danger or sense anything, and they won't come back into that pen. It took a very long time and expensive to build.
If you want to if you want to get a snare on
Dude,
it.
I don't even like the way that looked. So we had to get in and we had to tackle these hogs and hog tie them. And then bring them out. He does it all the time, but he challenged, he said, you won't get in there, you're too scared. Well, that's all you had to do, and having a little bit of redneck in me.
You always catch the sows and the little ones. And yeah, he does make you move, don't he?
I'm gonna
might need to clean my drawers.
We did it.
That's how quick it can happen right there, and I'm bleeding. And I didn't want to bleed today.
You know, you don't just wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to be an outdoor show host. You have to live it. You have to grow up in the woods. You have to hunt. You have to fish. John Jackson is a Louisiana boy, born and bred, and I think that's what keeps the show so real.
It's the sportsman's paradise for a reason, because we're open 365. You know, there's something that you can come do here in any month of the year. And I think that's what makes it special. Not only that, but the equation that we have with the Mississippi River, the estuaries that it created, and the way things are set up here nutrition-wise, we grow them bigger than better than anybody else. Best fishing in the world. I'll put it up against anybody. Yeah, you can go to Honduras, you can go to Tahiti, you can go to Belize, you can go to all these places and catch blue marlin. You can start in the bayou catching bass in the morning, and you can end that day catching blue marlin. 60 miles difference, but on the same boat.
The first time I went down to watch John produce a show, I showed up in the morning and I said, dude, where's all the guys? Where's the truck? Where's the crew? He looked at me and he just started laughing and he said, welcome to Out Da Bayou, brother. We're it.
The glitz and glamour that you see on the movie sets don't exist in the outdoor world. It's small skeleton crews, small boats, and you have to be mobile. So you just kind of have to go with the flow. You know, you get what you get and you try to put it together to the best of your ability.
I never wanted to be on this side of the camera. I could do what I needed to do and tell my story through the camera. I just needed somebody in front of it that could actually convey what I saw. When you're doing a hunting and fishing show, it tends to put you in this little pie shell, and you can't get out of that pie shell. Without the bayou, I can do any subject I want to, from A to Z.
It's never good when a man puts on a long plastic glove when you're working cattle. There's a bad end to this story. I'm fixing to tell you about it.
What Out Da Bayou is a hunting and gathering show, but it's actually more than that because the second half of the show is about cooking.
Deglaze it with a little bit of bourbon.
Whether that's in your backyard over a fireplace or downtown New Orleans in a 5-star restaurant.
So I'm going to show you today one of our signature redfish dishes. It's our cedar plank baked redfish.
I developed the name of the show and I said, okay, well, Out Da Bayou, that means that everything Out Da Bayou is great. It's wonderful. It's you know, from the food to the people to the culture. So how do you take all of that and get a byline to that? And it didn't take 5 minutes. Stories with great taste.
Local redfish, local tomatoes, basil out of the garden. Just one of my favorites.
You know, the stories are the people behind. The food at the end is how we always end, and that's the great taste. And those stories and that food equal a pretty good combination in Louisiana.
I wanted to go out to John's dad's camp because the more you talk to John, the more you realize that who he is got started at that camp.
This is kind of how I grew up hunting and fishing. This was our main, holiday, come out during hunting season, and whether we would stay a night in the camp, which is even more rustic upstairs than it is downstairs. And this camp has been in our family 60 years old, and it's rustic. I mean, we were not in the Taj Mahal era of camps. And we actually did a cooking show, out here with him because I wanted to prove to the people of Louisiana that my dad cooked the best ribs I had ever eaten, and they cooked it out of a 1950s vintage refrigerator.
Nothing about a new one can replace that old one there, and it's probably a 1950, late 40s or 50s model.
The motor's taken out. There was one thing that my dad always said, the reason he cooked it is because back in the day, they didn't put any rubber gasketing on any of the doors or anything. It was simple. He basically has the same grates that were in the refrigerator because they used to make stuff that lasted. And he would take a pan, fill it up with charcoal, had a little 2 bricks to create a little air path down there and set it in, close the door. 45 minutes later when charcoal got ready, he would lay a slab of ribs or steak or a big roast or something and close the door. And when you close that door, you'd start seeing smoke come out of all of these seals, and that was the key because it could breathe. Everything wasn't locked in, so you didn't have that compact smoke in there, but you had just enough to flavor the meat. And you talk about tender. 2 hours and 45 minutes, son, boom, on the table, you could pull the bone out of the meat. The ghost of my father. He stopped hunting at probably 35 years of age, and he bought a VHS video camera. And he would go out in the woods every day and he would videotape his hunts. And it was like this fun bragging thing for him, but I think he had a lot more of me in him than he would ever admit, because he loved showing those videos. And then when I learned how to edit and all that, well, then that was my second career, is editing all of his stuff, because he would shoot and then he would bring me and drop VHS tapes off at my house or my office with a little note that said, "Take care of these." That was it. You just heard a full chapter of my life that I ate 90% of my meals cooked out here out of a refrigerator. So those are the stories, those are the little things that I think it throws people back to their time, because they can, you know, if you grew up in Louisiana or out in the country, then your father and your mother did all these things too. You just might not want to put them on TV but I don't care, you know, we're all crazy anyway. We are a show of gatherers and we're a show of cookers, and we're in the middle of all that, there's stories.
Wish them luck.
Believe that if you want, but I understood quickly. Education into this world only comes by hours, time spent doing it.
That's kind of the whole gist of Out Da Bayou. You know, you put 2 or 3 elements in there that you normally don't get in the outdoor lifestyle TV world. Well, now you've got a gumbo of flavor for a TV show.
That is a big gator.
But look at that pig. Now the fish is as tall as I am. Education.
Got 10 frames indoors, so that would be your 5 gallons.
Let me simplify that. A lot. Entertainment.
If they think you are dumb enough to volunteer to catch the ones hidden way in the back.
I'm gonna call that a miss. Just a general go away with a smile, being proud of Louisiana.
You cannot put a price on just being out. Outdoors, outside. And a little out of your mind. Louisiana, this is what defines us. This paradise. It creates friends. It binds us by giving all who seek it something in common. Simple fun and moments of enlightenment on how we should all really live. Taking ourselves just a little less serious.
I really don't think there's an area of Louisiana life that this show can't touch on.
When I initially came up with Out Da Bayou, I had 52 ideas for shows written on a piece of paper. So far, and I've used 4 of those ideas. Because every time I go do a show, I get an idea from that show. Those people know somebody that does something, and something that I've never even heard of. They're building a compost pile.
That's what it is. And that's what incubates the eggs, the decomposition of that vegetation.
Come on, look at that.
Hello.
Look at the size of that. Holy crap. People come up to me all the time and go, "Oh my God, I want your job." You know, they think we have so much fun, and we do have a lot of fun. But what you don't see, what hits the editing room floor when we go out and do shows, sometimes you get skunked. Sometimes it's freezing. Sometimes it's 4 in the morning.
You know, it's all fun and games out there when you're on the boat or in the woods, but a lot of time is spent in that edit room.
You know, we spend a lot of time in a truck, we spend a lot of time traveling, we spend a lot of time on boats and in the woods, but probably 90% of my time without the Bayou is spent right here in front of this computer. This is huge time consumption. You know, you're talking, could be anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 days, 12 to 15-hour days in front of this computer. You shoot all that footage to get a 30-minute show, but then when you put it in this computer, you have to go through all of that footage again. I think the most critical point of a TV show is how you can visualize it and keep people entertained looking through a square box. And to do that, you have to get 3-dimensional on people. You have to put them, that they're sitting in a chair, but you have to put them in a boat. So you have to put those smaller cameras and those point of view cameras, POVs we call them, in places that you've never seen before. Fishes, from the fish perspective, looking up at the angler, from the rod tip looking down at the angler, close up on reel screaming. Those underwater shots that you never get to see that fish until he's boom on top of the water. Those are the things that are critical in telling a creative and entertaining story.
What these guys are doing with limited resources is amazing. I mean, sometimes there's one guy out there, 2 guys out there. Maybe it's only John with a GoPro on a stick.
You know, it's like I said, I may have 4 camera guys on the boat, but 1 breathing. You know, the rest of them are running off of batteries. I think the most fun is being out there.
You just knocked him out. We need to get a little bit better in that.
That's a lot of gator right there. You can't live anywhere else in the country and play this game. The most fun show was probably the show I was least interested in doing because it had been done already a ton on national TV, and that is alligator hunting.
Shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. Well, you see a 11-foot alligator versus a 9-foot alligator, it's all in the head, it's all in the teeth.
Well, the cool thing about it is you never know what is on the other end of that line. Yeah, you figure it's an alligator, but you don't know if it's a 5-foot alligator, and you don't know if it's a 12-foot alligator. And not knowing that, you know, what size and what's going to happen when you're pulling up a prehistoric animal, not knowing that they could just come up as fast as they wanted to and grab you by the face and pull you over and, you know, and that quick. That's the adrenaline rush to it.
It is nothing like what you see on TV. When I saw the head, it just kind of, you know, instantly got real.
So this GoPro had a float on the back of it, but I still knew where to find it.
Hey, go ahead and do what you want to shoot.
It's got a float. It's got a float right on the bottom. If it ain't that deep right there, there's only a 10-foot gator in the water right there. I'll jump off in there.
Even Mr. Donald is trying to stop what's going through my head.
I'm getting in, boys.
Look at that alligator over there. You see him in the water?
He's not out the bayou, he's out of mind.
Number one pet peeve on a TV show, losing gear. Although pretty sure an arm would trump that. Losing my mind? Well, that happened a long time ago. We don't do scripts.
Is it just that little white?
That little white, there's two feelers.
Ow, you little turd head.
We don't do double takes. We don't put fish back in the water.
Oh! How does that happen?
You're not using Power Pro, you're using
Holy crap.
That was a stud.
We simply put on TV what happens.
So that's all. You just check.
Let's just check.
I'm gonna tell you. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I've been violated or if I did the violating. Either way, that's a first. I got stories now. You know, those experiences that the show brings me, those give me dinner table conversations. You can go out into a plant and you can run all of these machines. If I try to do that, I'd blow something up. But you can go out in the outdoors and you can do exactly what I do, knowing, you know, very little and have the same amount of fun and get the same stories. You don't have to be a professional hunter or fisherman to go enjoy the outdoors. You don't have to be a professional cook to enjoy what we do on the show. You can just be Joe anybody and still do exactly what we do because we keep it simple. In Louisiana, that's the life here. We don't have to force it, it just happens.
This is a show about life in Louisiana, about the outdoor life in Louisiana, and it's unique.
I want to bring that image up. I don't want to bring that image that people look like, you know, people look at us like because we live the way we live, that's a bad thing. Because I know shrimpers who dropped out of school in the 8th grade that could barely speak a lick of English, but they own 6 shrimp boats and they're millionaires. Well, how do they get from that to that? Well, because they worked and they learned and people taught them, and they did it because they were sacrificing for their family. Well, that's what I want to put on TV. Who cares if he can't speak proper English? You know, but if that guy has worked his butt off all his life and become a success and supported his family, that guy deserves a pat on the back. Till you do something like this and somebody makes you start thinking about your childhood, you know, it makes you go like, what the hell am I doing? You know, what am I doing working 70 hours a week, sitting in a dark room? But it's all because I get to share everything we do on Out Da Bayou with not only my friends, but with 4 million friends that watch the show. And I guess, you know, that's my dad in me. And a lot of people have tried to discourage me and tell me, you know, you're not gonna make any money in TV, you're not gonna do this. And it's, you know, I'd love to make $1 million, but it's not really why I do it. I mean, I do it because it's fun, and I get more of a kick out of people, you know, watching something I do. You know, and oh, that was so good, and that is the best thing I've ever seen, and that gave me chills. All of those responses, I think, are why I do what I do.
Man, if that didn't kill him, nothing will. Right there, a true bucket list moment. Only made by opportunities granted in our own Louisiana backyard. It's not about the kill to me personally that made this unforgettable. It's the feeling 10 minutes later sitting on the front of that boat, still shaken and feeling as it did when I first learned to hunt. This day, this experience, these new friends, the knowledge and respect learned about a true marvel of Louisiana nature. Priceless.
My kids are gonna go nuts. Nuts.